Hello, how you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Today I'm going to talk about something. You can tell by the title. Now, if you don't want to hear me basically rant, that's fine, because she's certainly been talked about a fucking enough already. But I'm going to try to add my own spin on it. Plus, I want to talk about something I don't see people talking about enough. Give me just a minute. Oh, by the way, also, if you're around where I am in Texas, try to stay safe because it's really dangerous out there with the cold weather. It's a really bad situation. Anyway, but yeah, I'm talking about Texas. I'm gonna talk about something related to Texas before. Now, this is related to what I'm talking about, just to be clear. And I'll try to summarize fast. Now, about 20 years ago, before a lot of people watching this, well, a lot of people, like 5 people, some of the people watching this might not have been born, or if you're not American, you might not know about this. America invaded Iraq. The Allied invasion of Iraq, yeah. And this was done for several reasons. The real reason was to steal oil and to try to kill Saddam Hussein, which they eventually did, but it took a long time. But that's not what people were told. George W. Bush, the lying sack of shit that he is, tried to even tie it to 9/11, even though Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with 9/11. He also tried to make it about WMDs, weapons of mass destruction. All this stuff has kind of been forgotten about. I lived through it, and I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to what was going on, but I did absorb a lot of what was there. I'm going to talk about that because I want to talk specifically about somebody around this time who had something to say about George W. Bush dropping missiles or bombs over Baghdad, if you will. Bombs over Baghdad. That's the Dixie Chicks, who were a country band. In 2003, at a performance on March 10th, 2003, 9 days before the invasion of Iraq, Natalie Maines, the singer, said this before her performance. Introducing a song to our Lynn Soldier. Just so you know, we're on the good side with y'all. We do not want this war, this violence, and we're ashamed that the President of the United States is from Texas. Saying I was ashamed too, because fuck George W. Bush. He's a shit stain on Texas and a shit stain on pretty much fucking America and the fucking world. The only man I can think of who could make Donald Trump look good by comparison. Well, no, not the only man, like Kim Jong-un could too. The only president. Or he's the only president in my lifetime, maybe I should say, because there's been a lot of shitty presidents. But anyway, now after this happened, there was a huge backlash. Because what you need to realize, if you either didn't live in those times or weren't in America or kind of forgot, after 9/11, it was pretty much treated like you were a traitor if you said anything, even the slightest bit, not in favor of George Bush or America or the war on terror, which went about as well as the war on drugs. And we all know pretty much these are just code names for other things. Anyway, here's some of the things. I'm reading this from Wikipedia. So take that as you will. But that is a pretty good summary of what happened. Dixie Chicks were blacklisted by thousands of country radio stations. On May 6, college radio station KKCS suspended 2 DJs for playing their music. I'm not going to say it, but it's Talladega, Alabama. Dropped the Dixie Chicks after more than 250 listeners complained. This is funny. Dixie Chicks manager Simon Renshaw noted that by the contrast, the stations continued to play the music of Tracy Lawrence, who had been convicted of spousal abuse in 1988. These motherfuckers canceled a girl group for their opinion about an unjust war and killing innocent people, but kept a guy who beat his wife. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is, in my opinion, this is canceling. This was before Twitter, Facebook, any of that, social media, not even MySpace. You know. So, this is what you would really call cancel culture. This is being canceled. They received death threats to things of that nature. They were basically treated like pariahs for about a year. Eventually, Natalie Maines apologized for her comment, then rescinded the apology later. Oh, even the promotional contract was canceled. But point is, the Dixie Chicks, 2 days, or no, not even 2 days, like less than a day after making these statements, did not then sign, or did not, let's say, get dropped by their label and then all of a sudden get picked up by another smaller label immediately after. And they didn't have a group of people running to their defense, rushing to defend them, no matter what. Even though I feel like they should have. And that brings me to the point of this video. Took me long enough, right? Gina Carano. Hope I said that right. I keep saying Carino, and that's not right. Carano. So, Now, to keep it nice and clear, I'm going to show her post here. Can you see that? This is the post she put. I should put this content warning for, I guess, imagery. You'll probably try to read anyway, so I'll just say it's a picture of Jewish people running from the Nazis. And her post was, Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but their neighbors, even by children. Because history is edited. Most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating somebody for their political views? Okay. This is what got her not fired, by the way. She had a contract. She was in between contracts. She was not fired. She was not re-signed. Sort of like a wrestler. If a wrestler was working like sick leg dates and then they said some dumb shit, and it's like, well, in my opinion, Disney was more than right not to re-sign her for Star Wars for the Mandalorian. But lots of people jumped to their fence saying this is cancel culture. Despite the fact, like I just kind of made fun of, she signed a new contract for a new job like literally the next day. And thousands of people are rushing to their defense and trying to justify her words. Now, I personally completely disagree with her words. I find them quite offensive. Not because necessarily, because I'm not Jewish, but it's just a really tone-deaf point. And especially as part of how is that any different from hating someone for their political views. Hating somebody for who they're born, for their political, but besides versus their political views. To me, that's insane. Like, that is just completely ridiculous. There's no comparison. How you could even come to such a stupid conclusion is beyond me. History is edited. That line to me is funny. Because history is edited. You know how it's edited? Usually in favor of America and all the good guys. My school, let me tell you how my school did. My school taught us Christopher Columbus discovered America. They didn't mention anything about his slavery or anything. And he didn't even discover America. He didn't even set foot on America. But side note. But that's for the people who say that schools are indoctrinating children and leftist agendas. Like schools don't indoctrinate people in really ridiculous agendas anyway, if you want to go that way. Anyway, my point is, I feel they were totally justified not to continue their contract. And I think she dug her own grave because she kept on, pardon my expression, I don't mean that in negative. I'm not trying to say anything about her, like, imply anything. And for the record, if she's received any death threats or anything like that, I find that it's plural. It's like with the Dixie Chicks or anybody else. Nobody should receive death threats. No one should do that. That is disgusting, horrible behavior, and I don't support that at all. But, get back to my point. She was told several times, she posted several other things that were offensive, over and over again, and didn't stop. And then, for a better phrase, shut the fuck up. Now, you maybe say that was her right? Fine, that's her right, her freedom of speech. But that doesn't give her freedom from consequences. And this is not cancel culture. This is not even close to being canceled. Them not the decision to use her again is not canceling. It's them using their knowledge, or using their knowledge that maybe it's a bad idea to have somebody who's spouting vaguely anti-Semitic stuff on social media. And even if it's not anti-Semitic, it's tone deaf as fuck. Now, I'll talk a little bit about. Also, I should point out, she's also before this retweeted anti-mask bullshit, stop the steal bullshit, all kinds of shit that has basically been disproven, and even though it's only believed by complete morons who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, or people who are brainwashed, that's the part that we really talk about, because it's easy to brainwash somebody. It really is. It's easy to, even without trying, to kind of move somebody towards your position. I know from personal experience, you know. If you have friends who kind of, you have certain words and expressions, and you hang out with them a lot, and then you notice they start kind of saying your expressions, that's kind of what that is. That's not them copying you, it's just kind of instinctive, you know? But anyway, kind of talk about Pedro. I was going to say Pablo Pascal. What the hell? Pascal's Rachel? Pedro Pascal. Guy, life is good, but it could be better. A.k.a. the one that plays the Mandalorian. On the Mandalorian. So, this is getting comparisons, too, that he put a picture. I should probably find two, but I can't. My phone looks pretty good, but yeah. Anyway, he put a picture of concentration camps in Germany, and beside it, like a 1945 Germany, 1940 Germany, and then 2018 USA, and it was a picture of kids in cages. This picture was not in America, though, let's point out. So he probably should have at least made sure to get the appropriate picture. But his point was to make that America is putting kids in cages, in concentration camps. They are doing this for a fucking fact. We know this. It's disgusting. It's terrible. It's awful. Yet, the only time, and yes, I'm going to generalize here, these conservatives, when I completely ever talk about this in any negative light, from what I've seen, is to defend Gina Carano and point out Pedro. Oh, Pedro. What the fuck you say his name wrong? Pedro Pat. Well, I keep saying that wrong. To point out that, Pedro Pascal. To point out that he made this comparison. They're not outraged about it existing. They're outraged that he would dare make this comparison using something that's actually happening in reality. And if we're going to keep going, I could keep going deeper, the whole Republican or political mindset. First of all, Disney isn't firing anybody for being Republican or conservative. Chris Pratt is very much still hired. Because Chris Pratt doesn't say really dumb shit. Like, the only dumb thing Chris Pratt says is that he support, Hillsong, which is a famously homophobic and transphobic church founded by a pedophile, too. Look that shit up. It's disgusting. Now, he could probably go out of his way to tell people that he is good with the church because they helped him, but that it also it has a disgusting past and it doesn't treat people right and they need to change their ways, but he's not going to do that. But at the same time, nobody's, like, Disney's not going to fire him. And I love Star-Lord, for the record. I love Star-Lord a lot. I don't care much for Chris Pratt because I feel that to be kind of a cowardly, shitty thing, that you could actually use your voice to amplify the problems. Even if you support something, you can still, at the same time, like the analogy I use is that if you have a best friend, or a good friend, let's say a good friend, who says some really messed up shit, you can still amplify that person and say, well, they supported me for hard times, but they're kind of obtuse about other things. Anyway, that's my opinion on him. But anyway, they're not firing him. Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of the most famous Republicans, that's pretty much loved by everybody, regardless of political, gender, sexuality, race. It's still very much working. He had a movie come out a few years ago, nobody thought a Terminator movie would work after Genesis. And pretty much just because he wanted to make it, they made it. That's not the only reason, obviously, but that was the main driving force. And he's not being fired. Tim Allen, who I love watching Tim Allen. I love him as Buzz Lightyear. I love him on Home Improvement. I used to watch Last Man Standing. I haven't really watched it in a while, but when I used to watch it, I loved him on there. Worked for decades now. Has not had any problems. So this narrative is just weird, but also, here's the thing about Republicans and conservatives. Most of the politicians are Republicans or conservatives. This is about othering, right? Othering people and trying to dehumanize them. Well, from what I've seen, most of the politicians, at least, love to other people. They love to other illegal immigrants. They love to other trans people. They love to other pretty much anybody who isn't straight. They love to other all the time. They other them, like us and them. After all, we're just ordinary men. But to them, no. Yet, for Gina to sit here and say that people are othering Republicans, first of all, well, tit for that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to dehumanize anybody. But it's a funny comparison to make and claim that you're being persecuted when the people you support are literally trying to persecute other people. And the kids in camps literally is the direct consequence of othering illegal immigrants. And what else was I going to say? I keep forgetting what I was saying. If you want a more detailed opinion on this whole Gina thing, I would say watch the video by Vosh on it, because I kind of feel the same way he does. Or Cyrus, when he's talking about classically Abby's take on it and his reaction to her, because I kind of feel the same way. And he explains more better how the whole thing about contracts works. But this is my own spin on it. I just want to talk about the whole Dixie Chick situation, because people seem to forget that. People seem to forget just how intense it was. And even George Bush mocked the Dixie Chicks at one point. And this was just for daring to have an opinion in public, in a concert, that people paid to see, that wasn't even in the same country they were in the country went so far as to just backlash them. Keep in mind, nobody, not even Nobody I know of is talking about like never watching an episode of The Mandalorian with Gina. Unless maybe there's some who are gonna start that don't want to start out, but nobody's like, I'm not gonna go back and watch the episode because she's in it. Nobody's talking about not watching whatever movies or shows she's in. This is just people basically saying, okay, she got not fired, but she's not working for good because she's kind of a shithead. And also, this is the last straw for what I was saying because she was told by several people. Oh, another conservative, Jon Favreau. I didn't even know he was conservative. He's great in general, but he directed Iron Man, so I love him. He's amazing. He's also, I think, the main showrunner for the Mandalorian. But, yeah. He's very conservative. Or, I don't know, he's conservative, he's Republican. And he's, like, people love this shit, like, because he doesn't act like a shithead. And he also tried to warn Gina about this. He tried to tell her, hey, calm down. Maybe relax on the whole thing. You know? Maybe don't go so gung-ho. And, I keep forgetting what I'm going to say. Also, who else? It's not good. Jon Favreau. Oh, I know a famous Republican who for years has worked at a lot of people. A lot of people try to claim his product is leftist or whatever. For the record, I'm not even a leftist, okay? I don't really agree with all left-wing ideas. I'm closer to an anarchist at best. But I don't really have a political ideology. But Lorne Michaels, I couldn't remember his name. The one who, still the head showrunner for Saturday Night Live. He donates to the Republican Party. Lots of money every year. His show has always made fun of people on the left and right. He doesn't care. I don't watch his shitty show anymore because I find it kind of crappy. But that's for different reasons. But the point is, he's not being canceled. Nobody cares if you're conservative or Republican. In fact, nobody cares if you're MAGA. Until you keep on pushing really dumb ideas and you're told basically to shut up and you don't. Now, yeah, you could say, well, Gina could have had her rights to keep tweeting. But she can tweet all she wants. She blocked me on Twitter, by the way. I never interacted with her at all, but that's fine. Possibly because I have pronouns in my bio, but I don't know for sure. Maybe it's because I was retweeting some of the stuff about her being fired. Fair enough, whatever. I don't really care about that. Her point is, she can do whatever she wants. That's her human right. But it's not the right of a company to keep hiring her if she's going to say dumb things. I'll give you one last story. I made this one up, but my dad used to work in the Coca-Cola bottling plant. And he went to dinner with his boss one day, and his boss was paying for everything, and he ordered a Dr. Pepper drink with lunch. He got fired the next day for that. They were perfectly in the right. I don't like the idea that companies can fire you for anything. I think it's disgusting. But it's usually the idea that right-wingers and conservatives support. And you can't play that game and then expect, consequence happens and be mad. Anyway, I'm done for today. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great fucking day. Stay safe, please.